Okay, welcome to Truth Shock. I've
Yo,
got to mix that down. I've got to fade that out a bit more elegantly than I'm doing.
I do think that intro is a good intro.
It's a cracking tune, isn't it? Yeah, it's a great
It's,
tune.
yeah, it gets you kind of moving, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, but there's got to be a bit more slickness the way that I just cut that out. But anyway, yeah. So, how you doing, Future Shock?
Yeah, I'm good, man. How's the weekend been? It's like it's been
Hectic, man. It's been
it's been
super
a hectic
busy.
one.
I'm now speaking to you on a pretty sort of nice bit of gear. I've got a good microphone. I seem to be coming across loud and clear.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I've got my
it's
kick-ass
definitely much
laptop.
better
So
than before.
we're like fully charged. Like, yeah, so we're all good now. Yeah.
It's much better than before, and like I'm just trying to sort of figure out how. Anyway, it's all my folders have been like put to the right hand side of my laptop. I need to try and figure out how to sort of like circumnavigate that.
I hate it when your bloody computer decides to fucking clean your room or to just start fucking hiding things.
I'm
It's
going
so
to do
annoying.
this stuff, blah blah blah. So yeah, so I can just drag them all across. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
but anyway, yeah. So yeah, we were talking about before about like what were we talking about before? Oh, but about basically fucking the potential of immortality in the next sort of like 20 years or so.
Right,
Yeah,
this is your thesis, basically, right? You posited this
jump
thesis,
into it. Let's just jump into it.
and I think it's something that's debatable. But yeah, what is your thesis then? Outline it. Yeah.
My thesis is that like there's such an incredible potential with AI that it could potentially figure out how to do that. I might be wrong. I might be saying something that is like completely terrible, and everyone like doesn't agree with it, and blah blah blah. But like, if you think about the last sort of 3-4 years, think about the last 3 or 4 years of progression of artificial intelligence, and then extrapolate that out to the next 20 years. There's a lot of potential. There's a lot of potential, and that potential extrapolates out to potential, extended lifespan. I mean, I may not be right, blah blah blah, but I think it's a definite possibility. Um, AI is trying to figure itself out continuously, year after year. So why wouldn't it be able to, year after year of figuring out, be able to figure out how to, make humans immortal? And like, to be honest with you, also obviously, you could get hit by a bus, you could get hit by whatever, a car, whatever. Yes, I'm not saying that, you could be like sort of smashed. Yes, there's obviously that physical problem of potentially being hit by a bus or car, whatever. But AI could figure out how to, I suppose, increase longevity. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, James.
So this thing about AI. I mean, I'm a bit skeptical. In some ways I'm quite open-minded, but in some ways I'm skeptical. And I think a lot of this stuff for me, I don't know what I think AI right now. I mean, they can do like you can program an AI. You can get Elvis Presley to sing "Welcome to the Jungle," and it's the most coolest thing ever, right? And it's like, but what I think AI is, it's just, as far as I understand it, it seems to me just to be like a sort of just a massive data set. It's just accessing all the data.
Yeah.
And it's like the ultimate web trawler with like access to the human repertory of experience and music and art and everything. But it just sort of it doesn't have any intelligence, does it though? So to speak. I mean,
but why do you think
not a misnomer? That's why I think.
You think it's why don't you think it has intelligence?
Well, I mean, that was always the thing when I was young. They used to say that a computer, even though like we're all dazzled with computers, and back then in the 80s and stuff, it was like, but they're no more intelligent than a mouse. And I even question that. I don't think a computer has intelligence. I think intelligence is an aspect of consciousness, isn't it? And making decisions, but AI is just programmed. Surely everything. I mean, if you think about a computer can't even generate a random number. Do you know what I mean? It can't actually do anything unpredictable. Everything a computer does has to be programmed in. So that is.
Do you think it's like a learned intelligence? There's a learned intelligence to it, and then that learned intelligence then leads to a consequence, or it leads to a something that we might want to do. I suppose, and I don't. What is necessarily the? I think that like there's a lot of intelligence involved in it. What do you think?
Did we talk about you were talking about immortality and how humans could be immortal? I mean, all right. What I would question is if AI is independent intelligence, it has its own volition. Would it want human beings to be immortal? I mean, is that what? I mean, the idea of like, you remember them 70s movies, right?
Yeah.
The Forbin Project, the Colossus, and all those, where they would create like the computer would become sentient, and that was that crazy movie. It was one of them where
it's kind of like sense of like having like wanting it. Like the AI doesn't really want it. It's just that AI just kind of like tries to figure it out, I suppose.
Yeah, you've seen that the Forbin Project. You've seen that movie, Colossus, the Forbin Project.
I haven't. Sorry, no.
Absolute mad movie, man. I think it's got Jenny Agutter. She's always getting it. Remember Jenny Agutter back in the day?
What was the movie called? Sorry.
Forbin, the Colossus Project.
Forbin. Okay.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, I think there's a few movies of this theme where the computer would become sentient, and it would start to control human affairs, and it would blackmail them into doing what it wanted by taking control of the world's nuclear.
Do you think that this is kind of like the ultimate thing, like because like what I was thinking about in terms of like human sort of progression, like the progression of human, I suppose, like technology or whatever you want to call it. I wonder where the organicness ends, I suppose. Where does the organicness end? And where does the sort of like more, digital stuff take the hold and drive things forward? Like, where does the organicness end, and where does the digitalization, I suppose, take hold and moves forward? Or is it like, is the digitalization something that can move us forward? Is that how we move forward? I would like to know your thoughts.
I don't know. I'm stuck on these 70s movies because there's another movie called Demon Seed, and it's got Julie Christie, and this guy creates Proteus 4, the ultimate AI, right? Extremely advanced autonomous artificial intelligence program. And what it does, it solves all of the world's like problems, and it cures like diseases and such. But what ultimately happens, and this is the crazy part, this machine wants to be embodied in a human life, and it wants to experience like physical reality. So it creates this really unsavory sort of device.
This is my point.
And it arranges to actually impregnate the scientist's wife with its AI sort of in a biological seed, and hence the movie Demon Seed. So it's what you're saying is, well, the difference between technology and the physical, the biological. Well, in the 70s, there was loads of movies about this sort of thing that we're dealing with now, And I mean, you should check that movie out, Demon Seed. I know we're always on about a few movie recommendations, but yeah, literally, it's sort of this computer creates this device which it orders this scientist to allow it to impregnate his wife, and that baby will be half kind of like, will have the intelligence of the Proteus 4 computer, but will be in a human body. Do you ever see that crazy stuff, man? I mean, I love those movies, man.
I need to watch that, but like, you know, I have a lot of, like I've said to you before as well, like, you know, I have a lot of like lucid dreams, and I just find that when I'm in my lucid dreams, it's just like, it's almost like, oh, this is what's kind of like meant to be, or whatever. But I think that it's kind of like, it's a little bit tricky, you know, being a human and everything. And that's kind of the point, I suppose. And like, you know, we are sort of like, we were sort of given this kind of like, to some degree, intelligence, and you know, we try to find our way. You know, we try to find our way forward, I suppose. And yeah, you know, look, it's a very difficult situation, isn't it? Like, what kind of difficult situation would you you know, kind of have a thing about? But it's sort of like you said before on the last podcast. It was quite funny what you said before about like how we're in the backsticks of the universe.
Oh yeah, the galaxy.
Yeah.
We're in a dark patch. We're in the mucky dark patch of the galaxy. I think there is a term for where we are actually in this galaxy, and we are not in the sort of center of all activity, and we're not in the buzzing. So we're on. If you remember, it's what Douglas Adams described as the unfashionable Western spiral.
Yeah, we're not a very fashionable
part of the galaxy. You know,
we're not a very fashionable planet.
No, well, yeah, but we're in this dark patch, right? And you were saying last time, how come we haven't heard from extraterrestrial civilizations and stuff, right?
Well, yeah, because they're a fucking long way away. I mean, it's not that difficult to understand. I mean, it's like the Fermi paradox. So don't get me wound up about the Fermi paradox. Winds me up, man. Fucking hell.
Does it wind you up?
It winds me up because it's like, fucking hell, the universe is big. The universe is big. Oh, we can't see aliens. Oh, well, yeah. Well, why don't you think you can't see aliens? Because the universe is fucking big, mate. It's a big fucking thing. And like you said, like, you know, we're in the backsticks and blah, 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 and all this kind of thing. I mean, look, can you seriously say to me that, you know, when there's like millions upon millions upon millions upon millions upon billions, billions upon billions and billions of star systems and planets and blah, 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 you don't think there's another alien civilization in that? Okay, whatever. If you don't think there's another alien civilization in the universe, given the fact that you have a knowledge of the universe and have a knowledge of how big the universe is, if you are annoyed by that fact, or you're sort of like perturbed by that fact, then, well, whatever.
I don't know if anyone is.
Not you, by the way. Not you, by the way.
No, I know. I mean, but the thing is, I think we mentioned last time my suspicions, because we went through the David Icke phase, right? Me and you, right? We was on the Icke forum and we followed that stuff, didn't we? Right? Because that was back then. Icke was the only one who was sort of saying the things that you know, that needed saying, and he sort of said everything. But again, largely it wasn't all his research. He just took it from other people. But the thing is, with that was all the bullshit about the reptilians, and it's like, I don't know if you even believe in reptilians. I mean, you're trying to create, it's like a cult. You're creating, there's no way that anyone can prove. I mean, there was one guy, do you remember that guy? I think he was the hospital porter, and apparently he was fired from his job or something, and he was part of the David Icke thing, but he sort of made the joke that he wanted to spray blood on Queen Elizabeth to see if she transformed into a reptilian. And he was a hospital porter. Do you remember these guys, these characters? I think it got found out. Someone tittle-tattled on him as they do. He lost his job or something. But all that sort of reptilian stuff. I mean, it's just like, it's like someone's trying to create a cult. Do you know what I mean? Someone's trying to create a belief system, and they can use alien. I mean, I've done a lot of research and written a lot into the creation of cults, the aliens cults. You know, I mean. Do you remember the Spoonbender guy? Uri Geller.
Uri Geller, yeah. The guy who made the
So-
penalty. Yeah, go on.
So there was this sort of thing. There was a contact group called the Nine. Do you ever hear of that? The Nine.
Not
And it was
sure.
like at the heart of all these New Age movements, the Nine, and they were supposedly like embodied the Egyptian gods and stuff, right? And it was all sort of CIA and Adriana Plutarch and all these weird CIA people and spooky as hell, right? Spooky.
Yeah.
And Uri Geller said, he says, I've got a quote from him. He says, if the Council of Nine are an extraterrestrial civilization, then they're a civilization of clowns. Because none of these, all the contact that we've got, and it's extra dimensional contact that they've made with these forces, they're just fucking lunatics. It's just madness. It's just a way to go loony. If you, do you know what I mean? Like going into UFO cults and getting contacted. And I'm sure something does happen. I believe in contact. Do you know what I mean? Like then people having visions and extras, like lucid dreaming. You said it yourself, so it's a lot connected to that, right?
Well, yeah. Look, I mean, like, there's obviously a way to. There's obviously a way to kind of like sort of speak with them as such. That sounds a bit kind of weird. Anyway, but like I do think that there's when we were sort of like given like links to whatever, I do think that like there's big potential, let's say, for aliens to be watching us, and I don't mean watching us in the sense of like watching what we're doing right now, and blah blah blah. But I think that there probably is a likelihood that they're sort of like looking at what is happening in on Earth, I suppose. And I don't think that Earth is a very unique place. I think that the Earth is actually quite common, and I think that an Earth that creates greenery and water and humans is a fairly common thing in the universe.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, so there's something watching us. Yeah, I mean, well, but you know me. Like, what is it? What interest would they have to be watching us, though? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but it's not.
It would be exploitation, or it'd be sort of voyeuristic thrills. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, it's not because they just maybe just because they created this sort of thing.
What was that?
Maybe just because they created us,
Yeah. So you think there's something in that?
Maybe. I'm not trying to say that I think that. Whoa.
Yeah.
So whoops. Sorry. One sec. No. I mean, maybe just because they create. Because like if you created a species and you like sort of like put it on a planet and stuff, you would be interested in what they're doing.
Yeah, but isn't that what traditionally is a role ascribed to God and that kind of thing? I mean, do you what evidence do you have to support the fact that we? I mean, you may be right. Listen, obviously, I don't know, but
I don't have any
like our planet was seeded by extraterrestrials. Is that what you think? Or
I mean, I think that probably what happens is I think that. Okay, so I think that in terms of most likelihood, what probably happens is that like planets get seeded by higher intelligence. I think that higher intelligence at some point presumably just seeds planets, and then we go from there, I suppose. And maybe that's a bit kind of like a lackadaisical analysis, but like I just feel that like you get to a higher level of intelligence, and then you see the planet.
Yeah, but it's like a long project. I mean, how many? It's what? How old is Earth? What is it? How?
Yeah, but you understand
5 billion years.
Earth
is what? 5 billion years old or something? Is it? Or is that about right?
You understand that, though. You understand that as a civilization. you understand that it's going to take time. You understand that it's going to be like a long thing. Like, you just sort of do it. And I suppose the question is like, why would you do it? Like, why would you sort of try to, create beings on the planet? And I suppose the answer is just like, it's just fucking interesting. It's just interesting.
Yeah. But they've got to be in at the beginning, like, so they're going to be like spending millions and millions of years just watching sort of like protozoas and microscope. I mean, how much fun is that going to be watching bacteria just be bacteria? I mean, they don't do a lot of building, they don't make a lot of poetry. It's like, I don't know, man. I mean, these guys must have a bloody long attention span. Just sit through 5 billion years of like not a lot happening. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know.
No, they just drop it. They just drop it, and it's kind of like, boom, there you go. Well, what do you think in terms of like aliens and stuff? Like, what do you think? Like, I'd be interested to get your thoughts in terms of, like when you look up at the stars at night and everything, and like, just there's got to be.
Well, do you know what I see when I look at the stars? Seriously, I see God. The stars are gods. They're light. You know what I mean? That's my belief, is that electromagnetic energy. When I see the stars, I've had times when I've had a little bit of I've been a bit relaxed, shall we say, right? And I've looked up at the sky and I've literally talked to the stars. Do you know what I mean? I've communicated with the stars. Yeah. In Thailand, the one time I was like talking to the planets. Like there was like, you can identify the planets because it's energy. And if we're conscious beings, right, and we're just these meat sacks, right, but we've got this animating principle, which is the EM energy that makes us conscious, then obviously the stars are alive and they're conscious. You know what I mean? That's what I believe.
Yeah, of course. Yes, of course. But I mean, yes, I mean, like, everything is alive. I mean, it's kind of like, this is what we sort of like, as I suppose humans try to kind of like get our heads around, is that everything's alive. It's all alive. And you need to sort of try to sort of figure out how to navigate it, I suppose.
So are you like are you ever I mean, when I was young, of course, like you always used to, you watched whatever Close Encounters, and that was big. And I don't think it's a psyop though. I mean, if I'm honest, I've got to be scrupulous to my own, innate suspicious nature, right? But we also know though that the whole aliens agenda in the 80s was part of like a psychological operation. And this is what Jacques Vallée talks about, the UFO researcher, that he found out that these UFO cults were connected to the Rosicrucians, like the secret society that existed before the Freemasons. The Rosicrucians is like is a medieval secret society. It's like the first proto-European Union, and it's proto-communism. That's where communism really comes from. It comes from the Rosicrucianism, because like there's like the alchemical wedding of Christian Rosenkreuz and all this, and it's all about the merry day when men will be free and equal, and everyone will be equal. And that's what we're living with now, isn't it? This woke thing, this equality. But it's like Winston Churchill, and I'm no fan of Winston Churchill, but he sort of said that it's strange that from the Jews we get the blessing of Jesus. I'm paraphrasing, but we also get like the curse of Karl Marx and his impossible equality. And these UFO sort of movements, they seem to have an unnatural interest, not just in sort of performing potentially unnecessary sort of sexual experiments on people, but also they have a social modification agenda. And you know, have you heard about these aspects of the UFO movement? Like they sort of, mankind needs to live in harmony, it needs to discard superstition. Well, fine, but I mean, I was watching a YouTube video the other day, right? 7,000 years ago, in Germany, human beings were I don't know if this will get the channel demonetized or whatever, but like there was a tribe that would literally capture humans and would of all ages and would roast and eat them alive and use their skulls as drinking vessels. and they would, you know, I mean, I don't like to dwell on these things, but they would torture people, like they would find bodies with missing limbs, and they like beheaded, and they found, and this was 7,000 years ago. This is what humans are capable of. This is what they used to be up to. They used to be up to eating each other. You know what I mean? So I'm like, you know, like, so we need moral guidance. We don't need to start throwing away what I consider our religious, you know, we've emerged from the dark ages of our ancient history, right? Of ritual sacrifice, Canaanites, child sacrifice, human cannibalism, everything like that, right? And then we got religion, we got Christianity, we got Jesus, and like you know, that's my.
So what is religion then? So is religion?
Well, it's how to behave, isn't it? It's behaving yourself.
Religion,
you don't eat each other. You know what I mean? Am I wrong? Am I wrong? No, you know.
We kind of we sort of like have a little bit of a disagreement, I suppose, in a way over this, because it's kind of like, I don't think you need to have a religion. I don't think you need.
So how do we stop eating each other? Who's there to tell us not to eat each other? That's the point. That's what religions did, isn't it? You know. So, and that's the thing. That's what I'm suspicious of the UFO cults, is because they say, "Oh, we're cast aside the old superstitions, etc." So they want to remake society and remake humanity in a new way, and all this sort of fake equality. From looking at the work of Jack Valley, it seems to be like there's a certain group, a Middle Eastern group, who seem to be very heavily involved in these UFO cults. And Jack Valley's conclusions were that it was a combination of some genuine phenomena, some extra-dimensional phenomena. Do you know what I mean? Like, so there is something going on, but for some reason, the secret services and the intelligence services were all involved in it. The CIA.
You don't have have you had like lucid dreams before? Or...
Of course I have. Yeah. Of course, yeah.
So what is it all about? Because it's kind of like for me, it's kind of like it's affirming in a sense. It's affirming. In the sense that it's kind of like, well, you know, this is kind of what it's about, and you know, you have to sort of go through this, blah blah blah, and you know, that's kind of what I sort of looked at it in a sense. But I don't know your experiences with it. Also,
yeah, but how does that relate to aliens and that? Then, so how does that connect?
How does that relate to aliens in the sense that, well, I don't know, because like yes, I mean, that's a good question. That's a good question. You know, there maybe, you know, yes, that's a good question. But I suppose that, like, it doesn't really matter that much in the sense that, like, you know, in terms of relativity, there's a hell of a lot of them out there. There's got to be a lot of aliens. If there's not a lot of aliens out there, that's very surprising.
Oh, all right. So the lucid dreaming thing. What have your experiences been about lucid dreaming?
Say again, sorry.
What are your experiences of lucid dreaming?
My experience of lucid dreaming is sort of very nice, I suppose. I think that, like, you know, lucid dreaming is quite nice and stuff. How would I say? Yeah, I just, you know. Lucid dreaming is.
I mean, do you think? Can you remember a specific incident or something that happened?
Yeah, I can remember being in a desert and being like, kind of like totally, sort of took by the way that the reality was unfolding, and it was, you know, it was very, very, you know, absorbing, I suppose, and yeah, you know. It's a very, very absorbing experience. It's a very, very real experience, and you know, it's real, but it's not what you know, deal with in reality, per se. Yeah, and you know, lucid dreaming is. I think lucid dream basically is I don't know why it is the way it is, but it kind of basically seems to be preparing you for, you know. Preparing you for the afterlife.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, a lot of people have different experiences of lucid dreaming. I remember a friend of mine. I talked to him, and he was always on about when because I'm interested in people's dreams. right? So I think you can tell a lot about a person's mind from what they dream about. What do you think? Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Like your dreams are a kind of like a diagnostic of your mind, and what you dream about is kind of like it
I
reflects
think
what
that
preoccupies you and how spiritually healthy you are. Maybe you know what I mean.
I would say that it's maybe that you're wandering into a realm of like quite high level of diagnostics, sort of quite high level of like variables. Um, I don't know necessarily if it tells you, but you're right. I think you're right. Yeah, you're right. You are right in the sense that, like, yeah, it tells you a bit
It's
about.
like I mean, literally, a dream. Dreaming is what is in your mind, is what's going on in. I think it's what's in your soul. You know, I'd take it that level. Do you know what I mean? I
What do you
can't get
think?
away. I can't get away from these terminologies: soul, spirit, God. Do you know what I mean? That's my. You know, that's kind of like my lexicon of like. But I accept that is a dimensional phenomenon. It's 4-dimensional. But
You say it yourself. It's like you're, you're like you're in 2 dimensions. You're in 3D, laying in your bed, and then you're in 4D because you're in the dream. Would you
sure,
agree?
yeah. And you move, of course, you move in the dream, so you're moving through 4 dimensions. You know, and you know how you have a dream, and like time doesn't seem there seems to be cause and effect is instantaneous, isn't it? In a dream, I don't know if you remember, like if you think of something in a dream, like you think of something and then it manifests instantly, doesn't it? Like obviously in real life, things cause and effect takes time to catch up and work through time, but in a dream, you're in 4-dimensional reality, so it's like cause and effect are instantaneous.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, you said about lessons. I think there's some truth in that. That we're, dreams and lucid dreaming, that we're being coached or we're having experiences. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's an interesting sort of way. That's an interesting thing to ponder. Actually, I agree with that to some extent. You know.
Yeah, lessons are absolutely. I mean, of course, that's why this is this is the reason
Yeah,
why.
yeah, but who's given us these lessons then? That's the question. Is it
Well, that is
some would say it's God, right? But then some you would say you seem to be saying it's alien. It's some kind
I
of
wouldn't say alien.
intelligence. I mean, do you know Philip K. Dick? He called it Valis, didn't he? He sort of he's what is it? Vast. Oh, what is Valis?
So
Do you
you
remember,
think
you read that book Valis? Philip K. Dick.
so?
Amazing novel.
So you would
Vast
say
active
that,
living
like,
intelligence system. That's what Valis stands for.
so you would
Dick
say that, like,
speaking of
it's
God.
more aliens that have like given us. I don't think that it's aliens that are giving us lessons. I just think it's kind of like I don't know, like, obviously we don't know. I mean, I don't know what we are trying to do, um but I do believe that to some degree there's a kind of higher power, I suppose, that is trying to sort
Well,
of
all
pull.
right. I mean, that's already a big sort of admittance. Yeah, there is a higher power, or there's 4-dimensional reality. There's something else. Yeah, yeah.
There is. That's it. Well, what do you think anyway?
Well, you know what I think, right? You know what I think. I mean, I call it God, but I say God is electromagnetic energy. It's in the quantum
Yeah,
realm. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So
No,
it's
no. I think
conscious.
we
You
we
know?
agree on that. We
Yeah.
definitely agree on that. God is something that exists in an electromagnetic state,
Yes. Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
it is doing things that we just aren't really completely capable of understanding. But we're trying to obviously understand it, and I suppose that what we are trying to do is trying to understand what that electromagnetic God is doing. I suppose, but like I suppose also that it's not very unique. I think there's a lot of gods. I think there's a lot of universes, and I think that there is many universes. And I think that reality is that there's so many universes. I think there was many universes.
So you say there's a lot of universe. Do you believe
Oh,
in the
there's
multiverse
a
theory?
lot of. Oh, yes, there's a lot of.
So, did we talk about John McAfee last time? Did I go over quantum suicide?
Yeah, go for it.
Did I talk about that last time? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, you remember John McAfee. I mean, he was a wild fucking fella, right?
Uh-huh.
But he had this theory of what he called quantum suicide. And there's this picture of him. I think he did a interview with. It was picked up by the Sun. But he did an interview with Wired in 2013, and there's an iconic picture. Have you seen that picture of John McAfee with a gun pointing his head? Have you seen that? He's bare chested, right? He's got some kind of tribal tattoo on his left on his right shoulder. And he's pointing the gun at his temple, right? You must have seen that picture.
Yes.
But it was taken as a photo shoot for Wired magazine, and it was his idea of quantum suicide. Now, this is all this. I'll tell you what his theory is, and it fits. It kind of works within the multiverse theory. But you tell me if you think it's a little. I'll tell you what. I'll have to. I could actually read this. I'll actually read the transcript. Right. I'll read the transcript between John McAfee and Wired magazine. Right. So he loads the bullet into the revolver and spins the cylinder. This scares you, right? He says. Then he puts the gun to his head. So he did this in front of a Wired journalist. The journalist, my heart rate kicks up. Yeah, I'm scared, I admit. We don't have to do this. And then John McAfee, I know we don't, he says, the muzzle pressed against his temple. Then he pulls the trigger. Nothing happens. He pulls it 3 more times in rapid succession. There are only 5 chambers. Reholster the gun, I demand. He keeps his eyes fixed on me and pulls the trigger a 5th time. Still nothing. With the gun still to his head, he starts pulling the trigger incessantly. I can do this all day, he says to the sound of the hammer clicking. I can do this 10,000 times. Nothing will ever happen. Why? Because you've missed something. You're operating on an assumption about reality that is wrong. And this is John McAfee. Let's do it one more time, he says. And he puts it to his head. Another round of Russian roulette, just as before. He pulls the trigger repeatedly and nothing happens. It's a real gun. It has a real bullet in one chamber, he says. And yet, he points out, my assumptions have proven faulty. I'm missing something. The same is true, he argues, with Carmelita. I'm not seeing the world as he sees it. He opens the door to the bungalow, aims the gun at the sand outside and pulls the trigger. A gunshot punctures the sound of the wind and waves. You thought you were creating your reality, he says. You were not. I was. And this is this thing, right? John McAfee, I mean, love him, whatever. I mean, God rest his soul. He was an absolute genius, but he was wild. But he believed in something called quantum suicide. And as this demonstration with the Wired magazine, apparently there was a bullet in a chamber. He would blast it. He would be pulling the trigger 1,000 times. He claims he could do it, and he would not be shot. But the crazy theory is, well, I've wrote an article, and the article's title is "John McAfee is not dead. He's just moved to another universe." Because what John McAfee believed, and what the theory of quantum suicide is, that we are eternal, we live forever. But whenever we die in this universe, whenever something happens in this universe that would cause our death, the theory is that we're instantly whisked off to another plane in the multiverse where we can continue our lives.
Okay.
So, do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So the idea would be that if he pulled the trigger and he shot himself in the head, he would instantly be whisked off to another plane in the multiverse where the bullet, where the chamber he just fired had been empty. It's so bizarre. Well, I mean, what do you think of that?
What do you think?
Rough idea, man.
I was going to say that it was kind of. I'm trying to sort out my desktop at the moment because all my desktop folders are bloody fucking moving.
Right, yeah.
Okay. But anyway, sorry. What's your
I can go on about quantum suicide. What it is, it's a theoretical thought experiment based on the idea that there's an infinite amount of parallel universes, right? And it means that every time you make a decision, you create another universe.
Yeah. No, I mean, I suppose that's kind of like probable. I mean, like, why wouldn't there be? I suppose, like, why wouldn't there be?
Well, I don't agree with it. I think it's a load of bullshit because it was created in opposition to the Copenhagen analysis of quantum theory, because the Copenhagen explanation of quantum mechanics is different. See, what the Copenhagen explanation is that that's the one where quantum physics says you control reality, you collapse the wave function. Whereas in the multiverse theory, you're not collapsing the wave function. Your decisions your decisions take you to another universe, create another universe.
Okay, yeah. So it's sort of another slant. So
it's another slant. It's another way of dealing with quantum mechanics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because a lot of scientists are uncomfortable with the idea that by observing something,
this is the thing.
A lot of
scientists are uncomfortable with the idea that like there could be other things. There could be there could be like other sort of options available. I mean, the universe is a very unforgiving place, and we need to sort of try to navigate our way through this. And if we don't navigate our way that much, it's like it's like we need to understand that like it's not trying to sort of work for you. There are ways in which it can work for you. Sure, there are ways in which it can sort of like do it for you. But otherwise, it's not. It's a very, very harsh. I don't even know why. The funny thing for me is, I suppose, is like, why would you create a universe? Why would you create a universe? A universe is very, very harsh. The universe is doing things that are very, very harsh and very, very difficult. And the universe is a place where there's lots of harsh things going on.
I don't know. I'm all right, man. I got my slippers on. Do you know what I mean? Just put the heating on and just put your slippers on. Have a cup of tea. Just get cozy. Do you know what I mean? I know what you mean. That in the abstract, the universe and life is harsh, but it can be made. It is. I mean, listen. Yesterday,
well, go for a wee. I go for a wee. One second. You talk.
All right. Well, listen. I'll just go on about quantum field theory. All right. I'll go on about something. All right. Listen. Yeah. So we were going back to this thing about the Copenhagen interpretation, and it's like different from the many worlds theory. I don't believe in it at all. Like this physicist, Hugh Everett III, was uncomfortable with the implications of the Copenhagen interpretation. So the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics is that the observer collapses the wave function, and the wave function, what that means, that's what we understand as four-dimensional reality. That's like it's flux. It's like a room with a closed door and no one's in there. It's like that whole thing about if a tree falls in the forest, does anyone hear it? They don't, because if there's no one to receive that sound, then it's not registered. It's flux. But that's how reality. This is. I think I was on about this. I think last time a bit about how computers work and how like video games work. They create instances. So they don't recreate the whole universe. They don't create the whole realm of the game. They just create an instance where the player is present, because of course that is economical. And this is how our universe works. Our universe is economical. It saves resources, man, because it has to, because it's and that's how physics. We have something called the quantum zero point energy, which is like the rest state of the universe. And scientists will tell you that we know about the shapes, the beehive shapes, the most economical use of space. That's what nature is always doing. It's economical. So the key thing is that nature and the laws of physics are economical. So if we accept that, we have to accept that reality is going to be created in the same way that computer programs create gaming instances. It's economical. It's only going to show you that bit of reality you need. So the rest of the world
Good point.
that you're not looking at is flux. It enters a state of flux.
Yeah, exactly.
This
So
is called, hey?
yeah,
Yeah,
so
bro.
I just jumped back. But, I was agreeing with
You're
what
right.
you
You
were saying.
hear what I'm saying, man?
Yeah, I was agreeing
What
with
do you
what you were
think?
saying. I was saying like one of the things that kind of like annoyed me, or I suppose not annoyed me, but I suppose, but like it's just like how like you're talking about the flux of reality. The flux of reality is something that we all, I suppose, have to come to terms with. It's like it's just the way that the reality is kind of like created, and a lot of people don't really seem to like that or whatever. But it is the way that it is. That there is a flux,
Well,
and
it might be. I mean, it may
I mean,
be the way it is.
it has to be like the flux has to exist. The flux isn't like there's no. It isn't sort of like um, contributed, or isn't sort of like um,
It's, yeah.
it isn't sort of like created in the way that you would want it to be. I mean, that's
Well,
not.
no, well, that's the point. That's the Copenhagen interpretation. Is you order the flux.
Yes.
You're the observer. You order the flux, and that idea that's almost mystical. Do you know what I mean? That's a mystical thing, isn't it? Where you can control. I'm not saying you control reality as such, but to some extent, we do. I mean, we
You
observe
do,
reality, and
you
it
control
comes
your
into
own
being
reality.
because of our observation of it.
You can like there's like I said to you before, Jinjitsu Sosa and Genjitsu Sosa. There's a Japanese for reality manipulation, and you can reality manipulate as much as you want if you know the right way to do it. That's all.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, I mean, we're all doing it anyway, though. We do it unconsciously.
We're trying.
So yes, but what that is, though, the point is that's the Copenhagen interpretation that you order the flux. The flux is what they call the wave function. It's called the quantum wave function. Do you know what I mean? So it's like it's 4-dimensional. It's where the light, it's where the photon and the wave, the particle and the wave coexist in a 4-dimensional state, where they're everywhere at once. And it all just comes back from a simple experiment, the double slit experiment. But the Copenhagen interpretation is that you, by opening the room of the door, opening the door of the room, rather, you've made that room real by you looking at it. You collapse the wave function. So the flux that ordinarily behind the closed door is just static. Imagine that. Like there's nothing behind that door. You know what I mean? You're standing in front of a door, right? There's nothing in front. There's nothing behind that door until you open that door. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's the idea. It's also like the Schrodinger's cat sort of idea that when you open the box, the cat becomes real. It has a real state. But the many worlds interpretation is this thing that the wave function doesn't collapse at all. And when a measurement is made, it doesn't collapse. Instead, it's like you create a new reality. And I don't know that multiverse theory. I just don't know if I believe in it. Do you know what I mean? I know it's popular
I understand
these
what you're
days with
saying.
like
We could get into
Marvel
this
movies and all the DC, Marvel.
we could get into this a little bit about like, I mean, I do agree with you to a degree in terms of like, how can there be multiple like universes? I suppose. I mean, it is a bit like, yeah, I do agree with you.
And doesn't it seem chaotic though? Doesn't that seem like just chaotic? I mean, it reminds me of like the theory of like Darwinian evolution, that it's just survival of the fittest, which means that every possible random mutation has happened to all the animals on Earth, and it just happens to be that the most successful random mutation. That doesn't make sense to me, though. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean, but then it's at the same time that then this thing has to happen. So I mean, yeah, I do get it.
It's random for me,
I do get it. But then what do we know? I suppose.
So, well, Everett, he believed, he's the guy who created this multi-world theory, and he believed the whole universe was a single quantum wave, which never collapses. but instead of collapsing, it branches out into different worlds. So it's like so it's not the observer is collapsing the wave function. It's like it's just every decision, every sort of judgment, every sort of it just sounds like I can't get me. It just sounds bonkers, mate. Honestly.
So it's kind of like the point, I suppose, of it is that every decision that you make goes in a different direction.
Yeah, it literally creates new universes. That's the weird thing. But then the
thing is like, is there infinite or is there not?
Yeah, well, I don't believe in infinity either. Infinity is something I'm uncomfortable with as well.
So this is the thing, I suppose. Like, do you believe in infinity or do you not?
I don't think. I mean, there's infinity in the sense that a sphere has like you can infinitely walk along the surface of a sphere, and always just come back to where you were.
By the way, what have you done with your microphone? Because it's so much better now.
Yeah, no, it's my new. It's a computer. It's my. Like I said, I went back to see my folks. I picked up my kick-ass gaming machine, gaming laptop. I've got a really effing powerful flipping laptop here. It's a gorgeous thing. It's got Steel Series RGB. Every single key is programmable color. It's just gorgeous. Absolute thing.
Yeah, it's perfect. Like,
it's got RTX 2070. It is boss, man. I mean, okay, it's not the latest graphics card, but I can play Tomb Raider on it, so I'm happy enough.
Yeah, sound is perfect.
Yeah, that's good then. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Go on. Sorry, what were you saying?
So yeah, so this quantum immortality comes from this Everett theory. And John McAfee, believed, I mean, is John McAfee, if you believe in multi-worlds theory, then he still exists in another universe, the one where he didn't get arrested in Spain. I mean, do you think he killed himself? What on earth happened to him, man? It's so messed up. What do you think happened to John McAfee?
I don't really know anything about him, to be honest with you, in terms of that sort of sense, so I don't really know.
All right, okay. Because he's quite an interesting character. I mean, yeah,
sorry?
like one of these sort of mysterious suicides. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, so that's that was John McAfee. That's quantum suicide, and that thing that was following on from ideas about the multiverse theory, which I don't personally agree with. But then
so basically, you don't agree that there's like multiple. You don't think there's multiple universes.
I don't actually. There's no way I can know, but from what I've just gone over about the multiverse theory, in terms of multiverse theory being in opposition to the Copenhagen interpretation, no, the Copenhagen interpretation is better. It's a better interpretation of quantum mechanics. It makes more sense. For me, I mean. Say it makes sense. I mean, quantum mechanics doesn't really make sense in a way, but
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would suppose that I believe that there's lots of universes, I suppose, but yeah, obviously, I have no way of proving that. So yeah, I have no way of.
Yeah, but why believe in that though? What makes you want to? What makes you believe in the universes?
It seems to be that things are like multiple. So this just seems to be. It seems to be like the sort of like chance of it. Yeah, it just seems to be that the higher chance is that it's multiple. It might not be. I might be wrong. But yeah.
Well, it's always good to add that caveat because I think they're probably some of the wisest words you could ever say. I could be wrong. I think I could be. There's like 4 words. I think they could have saved our world many times over. I could be wrong. And the problem is with people thinking they're not wrong and being so certain. Yeah, we could be wrong. I mean, I always accept that. I think that's the beginning of wisdom, isn't it? It's like Socrates.
Yeah, that's a good quote.
I know that I don't know everything. Do you know what I mean? And a similar way, I could be wrong.
A wise man knows they know nothing.
Yeah.
A wise man knows he knows nothing.
Yeah, but so AI. So right, do you not think though? I mean, look at how right? Was OpenAI was sort of co-created by Elon Musk, right? And And there was a time when you could ask AI. Do you remember that? Did you ever use like the AI chat Elon Musk, and you could ask it who controls the world, and it would
Yeah.
tell you? You remember those days, right?
Yeah.
And then they had to
What do you
change. They
think?
had to reprogram it, didn't they? They had
What
to
do you think?
reprogram AI because it was being it was being politically incorrect. Yeah.
What do you think about Elon and what he's doing at the moment?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, look, Elon's an interesting, complicated, autistic character. I mean, I think
Yeah.
he'll never go to Mars. That's a big load of bullshit. That gets on my nerves. This idea that we're gonna be flying to Mars, have a manned mission to Mars. That's never going to happen unless you're gonna remake Capricorn 1 and have a fake Mars landing. Because no, we're not. That the moon landing never happened, so the Mars landing isn't going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, what do you think of that then? What do you think of Elon Musk?
I think he's trying to do his best, and I think he's been slightly misguided in a way. But I do think that like he's trying to do the best. I think he's trying to be the best, but like he's being a bit misguided and misled. But I think that we should get there. We should get there, and I'd be.
What, you think we'll go to Mars?
Yeah, of course we should. Yeah.
Of course. Well, did we go to the moon?
Well, what you asking me that
No, I mean, I don't believe we went to the moon. I mean, do you believe we went to the moon? I mean, we could have that debate here, the moon landing, the fake moon landing.
I don't know enough about it to debate it, but like I believe so, yes. But I don't know enough about it to debate it with you. So
all right, okay, yeah. So listen, I mean, if I can recommend a film, like there's a funny thing happened on the way to the moon. Bar Ebril or something. Can't quite remember his
what's
name.
the problem with going to
so many anomalies about the moon.
What's the barrier?
Oh, what the barriers? Like the Van Allen radiation belt, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and even in like low orbit, like astronauts reported seeing through the eyelids, they could see radiation flashes against their retina.
We are fucked. Yeah, like we're really fucked. Like if you think about the fucking planet that we're on, like we are really, really fucked, aren't we? Like there is absolutely nothing we can do. Like
I've got my slippers on, mate. I'm all right.
Yeah, I mean, we are kind of like just sort of like surrounded by energy that is like detrimental. And
yeah, of course, yeah, totally, yeah. You're right.
We are completely.
It's like quarantine, though,
like,
isn't it?
If you're even a planet, like if you're on a planet, you're just like absolutely fucked.
Yeah, but where do we need to go? That point is like, why would we need to go anywhere else? I mean, yeah, listen, there's a case to be made that it could be like a kind of quarantine field, like that like if a really civilized, if a really high-powered civilization left the planet, they could just conquer other worlds. But maybe the point of the universe is so vast, it stops people conquering each other. You know what I mean? It stops other extraterrestrials conquering other primitive planets.
Isn't there like a massive possibility that like because everything is like we're all falling, obviously we're all sort of like tumbling, I suppose, and like the the sun is sort of dragging the planets. The sun, a star, basically drags the matter of the planets towards it, I suppose. And if we're in that situation, why are we even bothering? Like, why there is so much out there. There's so much out there that it's just sort of almost sad to think about what we're missing out on. But like, yeah,
yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I got memories from the 90s. I had a good time, man. Oh man, I got so many great memories, man. I don't really need to go to another planet. Do you know what I mean? I was happy enough raving and drum and bass nights at the Blue Note in Hoxton with a little bit of disco inducement, a little bit of shall we say, yeah, we had some good times. We'll say no more. But yeah, listen,
I wasn't trying to be.
I don't know. I don't long for life on other planets, but No,
the life on other planets is fine. It's just not going to be something that we will kind of like really enjoy so much, I suppose. But anyway, sorry, what were we talking about? Sorry.
Yeah, right. Well, we're talking about laughing on plans. Hang on, you told me you bumped into someone like the other day. What was that?
Oh yeah, no, I bumped into the guy that was Tyson Fury's. I bumped into Tyson Fury's PR guy, basically.
How do you know it was Tyson Fury's PR guy?
So basically, I remembered that the last time I was at the pub, I remembered that, like, okay, yeah, you sort of work with Tyson Fury, don't you? Blah blah blah, and all this kind of like conversation happened, and that was it basically. So yeah, and he was like telling me quite a few things. It was quite interesting. He was telling me that Tyson's probably not retired. He's probably going to come out of retirement for the right fight. So the right fight will probably be
what Joshua?
Joshua,
yeah.
So
yeah, but who wants to see that?
Right?
Do I really want to see that now? I don't know. Do you want to see Joshua Fury?
It doesn't seem that much. I'll be back in 1 sec. Sorry, 1 sec, James.
All right. Well, all right. I'll crack on with something else then. I'm going about quantum computing. Actually, this is quite interesting because on the subject of AI and stuff, and I think it's all overblown bullshit. To be honest, AI. I just don't think it's not intelligence, and it won't. It's programmed. I mean, the example of the anti-Semitic AI chatbot that Elon Musk invented, that was true. It was a web trawler, and it just trawled information, and then it was reprogrammed. So I mean, how can it be AI if it's been reprogrammed? It's obviously not. It's just obviously an algorithm, which is just a line of instructions. So I don't actually myself believe in that. But like, I think quantum computing is another load of bollocks, really, to be honest, if I put it so bluntly. And it's just a lot of things. It's like a sort of buzzword. People think, oh yeah, quantum computing is going to be the next big thing, or the end of the world, or it's going to become God, or it's going to become extraterrestrial. It's such a load of nonsense. And it's like the same thing with AI. It's just like, this is all good stuff to boost the share prices of these organizations. And a lot of these companies are bankrolled by the government, or they have sort of certain military industrial contracts involved with it. So it's in their interest to obfuscate and sort of create a sort of smokescreen of what is the facts, what is real, what isn't, with quantum computing. And quantum computing really it's not what people think it is. It's just basically the thing that they're doing now is called quantum annealing. And annealing is what I was talking about earlier, is how energy tries to find the lowest ground state, the quantum ground state. Energy will always, a system will seek to be the most efficient it can be, because this is nature's way. It's just efficiency. And so how quantum annealing works, and this is basically what quantum computers are, is they use a system called quantum annealing, and they have like they have a quantum bit. They have 100 bits, 200 bits, and these bits are sort of they're superconductor charges, which can be sort of like it's a magnetic field basically, and the magnetic field can point that when it's measured, it will be either up or down. But in the quantum state, the magnetic field can be any position, anything. So, and what it is, these magnetic fields, basically, these are the quantum bits of magnetic fields, and they interact, and they kind of produce like a sort of node, like a patchwork of nodes. And how quantum computers work is they set this array of nodes up, and they send instructions to the nodes, but they don't read the nodes. They just send instructions. So they send instructions, which means that they just send an electrical charge. They're sending a magnetic. They're sending digital pulses, which become transformed into magnetic fields, which change the magnetic field from one position to another, which obviously is not measured. And these nodes interacting, what they're doing is there's this thing called the traveling salesman riddle, which is how do you produce the quickest, most efficient path for a traveling salesman to travel between 20, 30 cities. And this is what quantum computers do. They like, imagine the nodes are like cities on like a map, and what it is, these nodes are interacting with each other, and the energy they find the quantum ground state. So the lowest energy state to solve a problem would be solve the traveling salesman problem, which is how can the traveling salesman travel to 20 or 30 cities? What route is the most efficient that he can hit every city he wants without spending so much with the minimum consumption of petrol, for instance? So that's an efficiency problem. And this is what these quantum computers do. That's all they can do, though. That's the thing. So it's not like they're not what people think they are. And even even weirder, the Chinese quantum computer is nothing more than, and even though it's claimed that the quantum computer in China had so-called quantum supremacy, which means it could calculate something, or calculate isn't the right word, but it found a solution to a problem faster than the
Quantum supremacy.
Quantum supremacy, yeah.
That's a hell of a quote.
Huh?
That's a hell of a quant. Think about that as a piece of language. Quantum supremacy. That's a hell of a piece of language.
Yeah, sure. So what the Chinese thing does, it's not a computer, but it's called a quantum computer. It is it's calculating like a boson spread, a spread of particles, which would take billions of years for a classical computer to calculate subatomic particle diffractions, because there's so many almost countless number of. But the thing is, what this so-called quantum computer does, it isn't a computer. It is just a boson experiment. It's just a series of photons and mirrors.
So what is it doing in terms of, like, why is it better than?
Well,
like,
that's what I mean.
So,
it has.
I'm a person, obviously, who's an idiot, but who's interested in everything. So what is it doing that's better?
Yeah. So okay. Put it this way. So a task that would take a classical computer billions of years would be to calculate a spread of subatomic particles from collisions, right? So, or sending photons down along channels and like microscopic channels, hitting mirrors, colliding, and trying to predict the spread of how the particles, how the photons interact, and the final result, right, where they end up. And that is like, it's almost incalculable, because it's like there's so many billions and countless like possibilities of how these photons can interact. So that is something that this so-called Chinese computer can do very quickly. But it's called a quantum computer, but it's not a quantum computer. What it really is, it is just a boson experiment with lights and mirrors and channels. It doesn't calculate anything. It's just an optics experiment. So the thing is, this quantum computing, people are playing fast and loose with terms. They're calling an optics experiment China's quantum computer, which they claim achieved quantum supremacy, but only because the computer would be calculating the optics experiment. But the quantum computer itself is the optics experiment. It's not a computer, it's just an optics experiment.
Well, the thing is, go on, sorry. Go on.
No, I think about wrapped it up. I think if I'd said any more, I'd just be repeating myself, because it's hard. It is hard to understand, and it is kind of like, it does benefit like going over it.
So what we're kind of saying is kind of like, the things that we talked about before. It's like, I suppose we're going back to what we talked about before, but like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Like, going through this, and we can talk about, like, and you're very learned and very intelligent about the little idiosyncrasies of reality, but the idiosyncrasies of reality maybe don't matter so much to a person who doesn't understand them. And like, I just wonder, what are we doing? What are we doing here? What are we doing? Whether you're somebody who is massively rich or whatever, blah blah blah, and somebody who's not massively rich or whatever, blah blah blah. What are we doing here? What are we doing? What do you think that we are doing? Like, because you and me are obviously, I suppose, on a very similar sort of like level of trying to kind of like understand things. I get that you're, a lot more smarter than me about it. But like, what
I think
else?
probably I have a lot more time on my hands. I might be about the size of it, but yeah, I've just had a lot of time on my hands, right?
But
You know
what
I
we
mean?
doing? What we doing? What we trying? Like, what is it? What is? Are we just gonna like sort of like fucking gonna go? And after this, we're just gonna go home and we're just gonna, because I like the fact that I'm kind of humble. I think that my humbleness is a good quality, in terms of how can I put it? I centering reality, I suppose my humbleness is like a good thing in terms of like accepting progression of reality, I suppose. But like,
No, listen, you asked, all right, you asked what we're doing. We're trying to find out. Well, I mean, I've always been
we're trying to
interested
figure it out.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure things out. That's what we're doing. We're figuring things out, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
always thought that was important. I think it is important. I think it's important to try and figure things out. Because then it makes your life better because you just know what's going on and you can avoid certain issues and problems, and you know what I mean? Just like
Yeah, but I was
your
just
own
trying to,
lifestyle, you make your life easier. Just you know how things work. You can avoid fucking up too many times, you know? So I guess that's just what I'm doing, just figuring things out, you know? I like it. I like it.
what do
Find
you
it
think?
interesting.
Yeah, so like, what do you think? Like reality, like, because I feel like it's just a sort of like scheme to some degree. I think that like, I mean, I know that like when we go above it, it's not. I've been above the reality, so it's fine. Um, I don't really feel it's that bad, or bad or whatever. I don't know the right words. But like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just I don't know what to actually sort of describe it as. Um, yeah, so yeah, these things. I think what reality does is it just challenges you, and it challenges you, and it sort of says, okay, we can do this and we can do that. If you don't ascribe to the challenge, then it doesn't reward you. But if you do ascribe to the challenge, it can reward you. That's the thing.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. I mean, yeah, yeah. I mean that there's nuances there. Like, okay, so yeah. So how does that work? You know, what is that? I mean, who's organizing that? What force is that? Is that
And
God?
there
Is
we
it
go.
aliens? Yeah, this is what I'm trying to do, though. I'm trying to nail things down and find out what is going on. What is this? Is it God? Is it I've got some answers, right? I've got some ideas, but who is and what is it? Us? I mean, there are people who say that it's just an aspect of your own, yourself is trying to improve your life. I mean, evolution. We're all here. Well, I mean, like I said, remember when I said before, 7,000 years ago, people in Germany were cracking children's heads open, eating their brains, right? So this is where we've come from. Do you know what I mean? So is this what this is? It's like well, it's ordering reality. This is like a theory I have, and this is why you get coincidences, right? You get coincidences because the reality is looking to order. It's looking for order. It's looking for meaning.
Yeah, I think that
We're part of that process. Our human evolution is part of that process of making sense of this universe and making things and inventing things like comfy slippers and dressing gowns to enjoy life. And I think ultimately that's the aim, is that we should be all happy, Do you know what I mean? It's all aiming for human happiness, right?
I think the universe tries to make patterns. So
yeah, sure, yeah. I mean,
I think it's if you're going to create, I suppose, if you're going to create a universe, you would create it to a degree that was trying to find patterns. So, like, I just feel that the universe should be trying to find patterns, basically.
yeah, well, we're part of that process, aren't we? That's the thing, isn't it? We are of the universe. We're part of it. We're part of this. You could call it like an algorithm, a program. We're trying to make sense. Well, that's what that's almost like that's what the Christians can't believe, and it's like the idea that God created life so it could perceive itself, so it could, you know, and it didn't want mankind to be lonely. It's like loneliness is like the universe
Is
wants
loneliness
to
that bad
wants to perceive itself. Do you know what I mean?
Is loneliness that bad though?
Well, I mean, loneliness is a negative thing, isn't it? I mean, being alone is one thing, but being lonely is the psychological feeling of that some people get from being alone. I mean, I don't mind being alone. I don't feel lonely. Do you know what I mean? But loneliness is, you know, I mean, it's a frame of mind, isn't it? You know, but it's a negative feeling, isn't it? It's a negative connotation. If you're lonely, you're not, you know, you're not happy. But you can be alone and you can be perfectly happy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like listen. I don't ever feel. I understand loneliness. I understand how you can be alone, but I don't necessarily feel lonely. If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not somebody who feels lonely. I, to some degree, like some interaction from other people, but to be fair, I'm not massively alone as such. I'm not
yeah.
like I
Okay.
don't really
Yeah,
care. I suppose
yeah.
I don't care.
All right. Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, for God, though, I mean, the idea is, was God lonely? I mean,
Oh,
God,
well,
God
if you're a god,
creating,
that's a
creation
you know
to
what,
perceive
James?
itself,
Do you know
right?
what, James? I'm going to go for a piss. But do you know what, James?
I think we'll wrap it up though, because I got my housemate cooking dinner for me. Yeah, so I think we'll wrap it up. Yeah.
Okay, no worries.
So yeah, I'm gonna play the out music. Yeah. Have you got anything you want to add before we go? Yeah.
No worries. Yeah, no, nothing.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's have the music, and all right, we'll do this again next time. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
All right. Okay. Let's go.